it was good enough for the purpose. And I think that's what you want to think about. Is this good enough for what I'm doing? But don't get caught in the trap. Say, it's not perfect.
Welcome to Monday Mornings with Michelle, the new business podcast. Whether you're kicking off your day or kickstarting your business, Michelle is going to kick your ass into next week with the essential fours: strategy, systems, support, and state of mind. Now, welcome to center stage, Michelle Nedelec.
Hey there, peeps. This is Michelle Nedelec, and I am super glad that you're here with us today because I have an amazing guest. Nancy, thank you so much for being here with us.
I'm very glad to be with you today.
Awesome. So give everybody the 5,000-foot view of who you are and what you love to do.
All right. Well, my name is Nancy Giere, and I work with entrepreneurs that want to turn their expertise into profitable online programs so that they can scale their business.
Very cool. I love online courses, and I can't wait to talk to you about them because there's so many fun facets about it.
Yes.
How did you get into all of this? Let's start there.
Well, I got into this very early in my career. Someone asked me to put together a training program. I had no idea. I'd never done it before. I'd certainly attended training, but I'd never tried to build one. And I stumbled around in the dark quite a bit, and I got it done. And I think it went okay, but it took me a long time to get it together. Then I had a job after that where I was really in an instructional design, if you will, apprentice program, where I had a quality assurance manager and a direct manager who reviewed everything I did and gave me a lot of coaching to improve everything that I wrote. While that was going on, they also offered us a master's degree program on their dime, and they brought it to the company. So we did it on our lunch hour. So it was just this perfect storm of doing the work, getting feedback on the work, and then learning all of the principles that go into doing the work. And that has motivated me to want to continually coach and guide other people through this process, whether I've done it inside of a corporation as a training director, or now in this more entrepreneurial space as a coach and a guide.
Nice. I love that. And I think there really are a lot of facets to putting on a program. Now, don't get me wrong, peeps. While you're listening to this, done is the new perfect. However, we're going to set you up with Nancy, and she's going to help you along the way so that you're at least, that you have a little bit more credibility and all that fun jazz along the way. So what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people making when they're putting out content or not putting out content, as we're?
One of the first mistakes that people make is they want to start by writing the introduction to their program. And really, you need to follow, I think it was Stephen Covey that said, begin with the end in mind. You want to begin your course thinking about, well, when they're done, what do I want them to be able to do? And then work backward from there to go, okay, if I want to get them to this place, what do I need to teach them to get them from where they are to that point? So your intro should be the last thing that you write. Even though that's the first thing that people consume when they're taking a course, that's the last thing that you do. That's one big mistake that people make.
And I think that's a lot of fun, because when I first started doing courses, that was definitely one of my biggest mistakes. I had a coach and they're like, okay, so what are people going to get out of it? And I'm like, I don't know. They're going to get out of it whatever they get out of it. It's going to be different for everybody. Oh my God. Problem. I would have hated working with me. I have these little flashbacks of those moments going, oh my God, I was the worst client ever. But for sometimes, especially if you're in kind of that whole personal development realm or, self-discovery, it can be really hard to say, hey, this is what you're going to get out of this. So how do you help people articulate that?
Well, one of the places to start is to go, okay, well, what are the problems that you typically help your clients solve? When somebody comes to you for help, what do they ask you? That is a great place to start. Then to look at it and go, okay, what do they ask you over and over and over again, where you wish you could just hit a button on a tape recorder, because that's how old I am, and then just play the recording. Actually, now should we play the MP4? And then people would listen. That is one great place to start, because you have the sense of, this is the problem that I help people solve. This is what they come to me for. And it's something that they come to me frequently. So when you have like a high frequency, that is a real good indicator that you're onto what could be a great course for you.
I love that. And I think it helps too to create what we call a ladder of ascension, is basically narrowing down what that thing is that you can put out to the world, and that they will consume and take one step up and pay $1 more, and one step up, take $1 more, so to speak. And it makes it a lot easier for people to be able to go into content creation, make revenue, whether they're a life coach or they're a lawyer. Like the same thing applies. You could be running a multi-million-dollar law firm, but as soon as you start writing content that's consumable online, the same principles apply.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. And this is something, it doesn't matter what size organization you are, that, it's the place to start. And oftentimes I always think of Snoopy, one of my favorite cartoon characters of all time. When he was writing, he would sit on his doghouse and he'd go, "It was a dark and stormy night. A shot rang out." And then he's like, "Now where do I go?"
Right.
Because he didn't think about, well, who got shot? Why did they get shot? What are all the factors leading up to this? So that's definitely one place. Another area I think is quite interesting, and just sort of given the way we've been living the last 2 years, is everybody was rushing to get their content online because it's like, oh man, what do I do now? And what we have is online courses that are really recordings. And there's nothing wrong with a recording, but I think you're better off if you position it and say, here's a recording of a webinar that I did, because now everybody's getting more savvy. And if they're going in to participate in an online program, they're expecting it to be divided into logical lessons or topics, and that they're going to be short, and they're going to be scripted and tight, and there's going to be some interactive activities dispersed throughout. That's so people's expectations are going up. Now, a simple way to kind of work around this is and people don't always think about this, when you have your idea and stand up the webinar first, but plan it as if you were doing an online course. Because what this does for you is it allows you to have a cleaner place to edit and cut, so that you're not like, going into your next topic before you finish, and there's the editor's like, I can't do this. So if you work that through that way, you think about it in logical chunks. And when you get to the end of a section, you can stop, pause, smile, transition to the next section. That gives you a few seconds where you can actually get a good cut. So if you think about, again, a lot of this is thinking, well, what's going to be the more complicated thing that I'm going to do? What's going to require more effort? Plan for it, but then you can stand up the webinar first. And you also have the option to say, well, I'll put that out there. When you said, done is the new perfect, put that out there, then perhaps go back and re-record everything, and then put up the next version, so that you're constantly improving. Because let's face it, anybody with a computer, a camera, and a microphone can create a course, and it's a good thing and a bad thing.
Yeah. Pros and cons to everything, my friend. Pros and cons to everything. One of the things that I was teasing on the video is go have a cup of coffee, because to me, editing, when somebody's talking with their hands and you don't know where their hands are, and all of a sudden their hands disappear, or all of a sudden their hands show up, what? Whereas if you're, have a sip of coffee or a drink or whatever it is, then you're almost always in the same position when you take the edit.
That's a good idea.
It's a lot easier for the editor. That is awesome. And you brought up an interesting point, because I'm so used to teaching people, okay, you need a sales webinar, you need to have a mini course, you need to have an elongated course, you need to have some content that you can give people as a bonus. So I have this derived sense of what my clients should have in place. And I love having you around, because I'm going to send them to you going, I'm not going to teach you how, I'm just telling you need them. So why would somebody do a webinar without kind of the means or madness of, is this an educational webinar? Is it a sales webinar? Is it because they're just kind of going on a, mode of consciousness, or
all the cool kids are doing it.
Okay.
And I think anything we do there, because because there is so much to do in any given day. So you just want to be thoughtful when you're putting these different programs together and go, okay, what is it that I'm trying to do? Is this my lead magnet that I'm going to do? Like, for example, I'll do a 5-day challenge. And at the end of the 5-day challenge, then I invite people to participate in another program. That's a level up. So everything in the challenge is designed where I'm giving people value every day so they can get to know me. And then they'll want to work with me at a deeper level. And so that, so the intention, so that I have and everything is about designing with intention.
Yeah, maybe people want to do very specific intention.
Yeah.
And 5-day challenges unto themselves, if they're not inundated with intention, I've seen more blow up than I've seen successful, for sure. But is somebody actually planning on taking like hey guys, I'm going to go Facebook Live right now and just talk to you about what's going on right now, and then turn that into a course? Is that what they've done?
People have decided that anything that they've recorded anywhere, anytime, could be turned into a course. And yeah, maybe part of it, but I think you want to think about, well, am I going to just drop people into this? That, should there be some kind of a wrapper around it, if you will? Maybe you have something that people read first, that position it, or you make another video to say, hey, last week I did this great Facebook Live, or you position it as your example. So maybe you're teeing up your content. Maybe you're talking about email marketing, and you would position it and say, you put it maybe a front end it with another video that positions it, and then say, I want to show you a short clip that I did on Facebook Live. Then people they know then from a quality angle, you've planted the seed that they know kind of what they're going to get, instead of saying, I want to show you a video, because now I think expectations are going up that things are going to be better produced. We're going from black and white to color.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I think it's funny because at the beginning of COVID, Hollywood kind of went, what do we do?
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
all of a sudden they started making really awesome ones because they started bringing in more tech, more CGI, more whatever it was. And some of them are low budget, but phenomenal quality. So it's like now all of a sudden we've really got to or at least preface the game.
We're really lucky because we're in a time where we have access to a lot of great tools that you can shoot great video on an iPhone.
That too.
And it's easy to edit in, it's a little tiny thing, but you can actually do your editing in iMovie. You can do it on your phone. It's easier to do it on a computer, but I had done it was meant to be a promo clip, and I was on location. So we're at this place. I live near San Francisco, and we were over by the ocean and had lunch and had this great view behind me. And so we shot this little promo clip right there. And I got on the way back, I called it up on my phone and I cut off the beginning and the end. And I just had my little promo to put out there. And it was, putting it into my Facebook group. So it didn't need to be, super polished, but it was good enough for the purpose. And I think that's what you want to think about. Is this good enough for what I'm doing? But don't get caught in the trap. Say it's not perfect, because to get to perfection could take hours of editing and retakes. And is it really going to make that big of a difference? I think if your lighting is good and your sound is good and you have a great message, that's what it's all about.
Well, I do think there is a whole skill set involved when people deal with somebody like you and they learn how much there is to just making a good set. Like that intention of, what's the point I'm trying to get across? What is my lighting? What is my whatevers? And just that little bit of, oh, okay, now we got some knowledge that we didn't have before can make an immense difference in a very quick, like from one shot to the next.
And another challenge I think people have is they've got so many ideas and they've got so much great information to share. They can get overwhelmed by it. Like, oh my gosh, where do I start? What do I pick? And one of the first ways you can look at it is to say, well, what is the need to know information versus what's nice to know? And really hone in on the need to know. And that's what should go into a course. And the nice to know you can offer in other forms. You can give people a downloadable PDF, or you can provide, supplementary content in any format, but kind that they can choose if they want to go deeper. But sort of what, if you want to get them from A to Z, what are all those letters in between that really count? Are there any that you don't care about? Like, X is hard to deal with sometimes. Yes, I don't want to LMNOP. They don't matter.
And what do you say to people that this one kind of cracks me up? Because if you look at my repertoire of videos, I am, bodybuilding, I'm thin, I'm, got the COVID pillows going on. I've got the pink hair, the red hair, the black hair, the blonde hair, the short hair, the long hair, the red glasses, the blue glasses, and people are looking at me like, is this you? Yes, it was. It's not anymore. So what? And I will splice those into videos because I think it's hilarious. Sometimes it looks like a time delay and flashbacks and stuff like that. And we'll add a little, the fuzz or a sepia so that it looks like it's a flashback from time. But what do you say to people that are worried about, I don't look the way I want to look, I don't sound the way I want to sound, I need voice lessons, I need this, I need that?
Well, first of all, nobody likes the way they sound. When first time you hear a recording, you go, what? I was shocked. I was like, oh, I do sound like I'm from the Midwest. Here I thought I've had like this, pure accent that's neutral. And it's like, no, you got a little Milwaukee showing up there.
I walked into the editing room once and then they didn't have their headsets in. All I heard was, ha, 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 ha. I'm like, I am leaving.
Thank you. Thanks for laughing. And, part of it is you want to invest in a decent microphone if you're going to be doing recording. Mm-hmm. And if you look, what I was thinking not too long ago, just, we all have our stuff, right? And I had bought a video package at an auction and I was there to bid everybody up. So never, alcohol and auctions usually don't end well for me. So I bid on this project. I'm glad that I have it, but I've been delaying getting this great video produced that I can use on my website because I'm like, I kind of got a body for radio right now. I got a body for podcasts. I don't have the body for video, but this is kind of who I am and where I am. And I thought, well, this is stupid. Just go ahead and do it. And if, things improve in a few months, I could always say something like, same big personality, but a smaller package or something. You can add little disclaimers or something to the front end, but don't let it stop you, because you got to show up as who you are. And I think people can find it interesting to look at something and say, wow, those glasses are old. When did they film that? It's all about having great content. And if you deliver a great message, people are going to get past it. I believe that because of how we've been living, we're looking at ourselves all day, and we're like, oh my God, my hair and my neck or whatever. It's just like, so we're probably more aware of it and are more critical of ourselves because we're not in, the way conversation used to be, where we're sitting across the table from each other and we're looking at each other. We don't, unless there happens to be a mirror nearby, we're not going, oh my God, what the hell happened? Who is that? That can't be me.
It is. Embrace it. Everybody else loves you. So why not love yourself?
That's right.
Awesome. So who do you love to serve and support? Who are some of your favorite clients that you get to deal with?
I love working with my entrepreneurial crowd. And right now I've got 2 clients that's been fun to work with because they've written books. So they want to take their book and then turn the book into a course. And what we're finding is it's not always going chapter 1 all the way through, but you have to think about restructuring it in a different way. And how, and really how do the 2 pieces work together? And that's been a lot of fun. And I just, I get to learn from people all the time. So everybody's all over the place in terms of what they do. And that is the most fun for me. But I like, the entrepreneurial people, the small business where they got a great message and they can get it out in the world. And I like that I can come to them and I can say, you know what, this is what the big guys do, and you can do it too. And it doesn't take that much. You got the same opportunity available to you because the tools have gotten so much easier to use. You used to need a village to make a course back when I got started in this business years ago.
So what was one of the most fun courses that you've ever done, or left field? And you're just like, that was kind of weird, or that was kind of fun?
Well, I've got to go. One of the most fun projects I ever worked on was many years ago for Harley Davidson. And I worked with the Harley Owners Group, and it was how to run a motorcycle rally. And it was really a program for their volunteers. So I got to get into the whole culture and met just some wonderful people. And they were so, passionate about what they do. This was their hobby, and yet they wanted to put on these big events all over the world. That was really lots of fun. And now I'm really enjoying that. I just launched a group, and seeing the light bulbs go on and like, oh man, I can do this. You've given me the tools. I know I can do this and make it happen. So I just like when that light goes on and people are like, I got this. That I might start to cry. That touches me when I feel like, I've been able to share what I know, and now you can carry it forward and you can do some great things.
Nice. Love that. So give us an example of a Cinderella story, somebody that was an absolute mess when they found you. Yeah, put the little pieces back together. All good.
A Cinderella story. Well, I have 3 Cinderellas that I'm working with right now. Hey. Not evil stepsisters. And they all came to me with a common problem. They're all working through in a group together right now, which was they were like, I don't know how to structure this. I've got all this content. I've written a book. I've got all this information. I've got blog posts. I've got articles. I've got video clips. I've got that, pick your thing, and they've got it. But I don't know how to put it together. And we spent 2 days. And at the end of 2 days, everybody was on track. They had their designs for their courses done and were ready to start actually creating the content.
Wow.
One of them has a much longer, her curriculum is about a year long. So she was able to take one of her courses out of her whole curriculum and was ready to move forward. And I think it was just having another set of eyes, just look at the information and go, okay, this is what you can do how you can really organize it to have it be effective, and getting everybody to hone in on that, what's the need to know path. Mm-hmm. And that just was so freeing for them, because they hadn't really looked at it from a, sifting and sorting or slicing and dicing. It sounds like I'm selling a Vegematic here, but it's just to give them a new perspective that creates a shift. So whenever you can see something with a different set of eyes, that gives you the opportunity then to move in a different direction instead of, well, I've always looking at it in the same way. It just really rewarding. And now we're in the accountability phase to push them to actually get their courses done.
Nice.
Because I thought so often people leave, how often has anybody taken, pick your topic, pick your course or workshop, and you walk away and you go, that was great, but you get home and you don't know what to do. And that's something that I can't accept.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We got to get it done now. So you remind me of when we were doing videos once. I was at a program and we're like, okay, I got to go get this video done. And I went out, did my video, came back, and a friend of mine is still doing it. And I'm like, dude, you don't have to give them War and Peace. It's just a testimonial or whatever it was. And he's like, well, what did you put in yours? So we exchanged videos. And he's like, okay, this mental leap of faith here, what the hell are you thinking? And I'm like, this rambling. But we were best buddies, so we could do that kind of fun stuff. How do you find personalities kind of yes, we want you, but.
Yes, I think
like, we want your personality, but you're rambling. Or yes, we want you, but you really have to explain outside voice what you're talking about because we're not all with you yet. That kind of fun jazz.
Much of it is really I think people have to go through and they got to come up with their first shot. They'll throw the spaghetti at the wall. And once you just have to get content out there in some form or fashion. And then you can look at it and then, like writing a book, you start out, or writing anything, you got to be a little bit freewheeling at the beginning and not filter anything, then come back with your editor hat. And it's always good to have somebody else edit your work. I mean, anybody who's ever tried to edit their own book probably wasn't a very good book. And the same thing with a course. If you try to edit your own work, you can do it to a certain extent, but there's going to be, there's a tendency maybe to repeat yourself, or you might leave something out. I had, for example, just myself, I put together some instructions and I had somebody else read it to make sure that they were clear. And they got to step 3 and they went, well, what about, oh, okay, thank you. So there's, it's good to have people to bounce ideas off of that can see it. Because sometimes when you're an expert, you can't always, you'll either over communicate or under communicate because you'll assume everybody has to know everything, or you'll go, well, they should know that. Well, they don't.
No way, really? That's why you're giving them a course. So when somebody comes in and works with you, what does that look like? How does the project unfold?
Well, it depending on if they want a done with you service or a done for you service. So both of them, we'll just look at the done with you. That starts with a strategy call to kind of get an idea of who they are and what they want to accomplish. And I've got a couple of documents that I give them where they kind of answer questions about, well, why a virtual program and why now? And why you? Then the second document is to kind of scope out, well, what's the particular project that they're thinking that they want to work on? They do that. We have the strategy call. And then from there, they can go into a group program, which starts with a 2-day workshop, which gets everybody grounded in all of the principles and gets them going on building out a design. And then there's one-on-one coaching after that. I also will work with people one-on-one if they don't want to be part of a group for whatever reason. And then if it's a done for you service, I'll go in and I'll do a needs assessment and just kind of go look, get the lay of the land. And this happens more with the larger size organizations. I'll go and I'll spend a couple of days on site interviewing people. Then they'll give me documentation. They'll give me other programs. I'll go through and I'll review everything. And then I go back to them and go, here's the design and plan. And then from there, we decide kind of what the next steps are. And a lot of that depends on what are their capabilities, what do they feel they can move forward on. Because one of the challenges I think out there is people are trying to turn what I think is a very creative business into a cookie cutter business. And certainly you can follow the same process over and over again, but there's a lot of creativity involved in each step. And people have different skill sets. So I have 2 people that I'm working with now. One person, very comfortable doing recordings, very comfortable being on camera, has a team of people to do video editing and to create workbooks for her. Other person has not in her life experience done any of that yet. So she needs a lot more support along the way just because her life experience is different. So needs somebody to create workbooks for her, needs somebody to write video scripts for her, perhaps even consider using voice talent. So everybody's different. Once you get to that point where you're ready to execute, you got to meet people where they are and give them the support that they need to move forward.
Nice. So I keep saying nice, but it's like, that's awesome. So we get rid of my little hobby horse vocabulary later. When you're working with somebody, because you seem to have a huge breadth and width of knowledge of being able to go, hey, this is the content you need for a 5-day challenge. This is what you need for a sales webinar. Yeah. This is what you're going to need for curriculum vende, or however they say that in Latin. Like, that's a huge spectrum. And it's awesome. So when somebody's working with you and they go through your strategy session, I'm assuming that you'll have like different price points based on the amount of, like, the more structured the video needs to be and the more polished it needs to be and the more yada blah blah, versus somebody that's like, I just have this, $300 course I'm putting out and let's just get her done.
Yeah. And it really comes down to, best use of everybody's time and what are the capabilities that they have. And, and how, I like to try to keep things as simple as possible. I'm not going to recommend that people do something that's, Hollywood.
Right. Unless, of course, you're Hollywood, in which case, I'm sure Nancy would be happy to work with you.
So the pricing does vary because it really depends on the project and how much work they're going to do versus how much work my team is going to do.
Right. Well, absolutely. And that all comes down to fun jazz. So I know that our listeners are going to want more from you. How do they start their journey with you?
What they can do is they can, excuse me, they can email me, and I can give you the correct spelling for the show notes. I'll say it right now because my name it can be tough. So it's Nancy at nancygiere.com. So my first name and last name, and Giere is Giere. I have on my website, which also happens to be nancygiere.com, there is an opt-in form on that page where they can get access to my 8 easy steps to create training that sells, which gives them an idea of kind of my overall process and how I work. And I even take phone calls. And what? I know, or a text. And my number is 414-315-9809. So I'm happy to connect with people anyway to do a discovery call and see what makes sense.
You might regret that in 5 years when somebody's listening to this.
When I'm retired. No.
Exactly. Nancy with a Y, NancyGiere, for those of you who spell your Nancy's with an I. This isn't one of those. Awesome. So let's kind of backtrack a little bit. What are some of the stumbling blocks that somebody might be having at home and they're thinking, oh my God, Nancy, I need you so badly?
Well, one of the biggest stumbling blocks is just a lack of structure and really not sure how to put everything together. I think there's also a fear factor around, well, if I build it, will they come? And that just takes doing some market analysis, not a lot, just, talk to some of your current clients, do some focus groups, maybe do a survey to just float your idea and see really where people are. Are you onto something great? Do you need to take something out? Do you need to add something in? But before you move forward, a lot of people will say, well, I'll sell it and then I'll build it. And you can do that. But the only caution that I have is be aware of how long it's going to take you to build it so that you don't promise something that you can't deliver, because nobody wants to be disappointed. And then don't go the other way and go, I got to wait until it's perfect and then I'll sell it. So you want to find that spot in the middle where you've done a little bit of work, where you can either move forward or make some modifications, then build it, then sell it.
Love that. So I have to ask you, at what point in life did you know that you were a special kind of crazy enough to think that you could become an entrepreneur?
Well, in 1998 was the first round, and I got laid off. So there was no downside risk other than, I'd lose my unemployment check right? So I thought, well, this is the time to try this, because if I don't do it now, before then I was like, well, I should wait and I should have this, maybe I should go work for a consulting firm. I had all these, I had this whole methodical plan. And then one morning I went into the office and they said, you can pack up your stuff and go, along with, 100 other people. Okay, well, I guess it's time. And I worked on my own up until 2015. And then I had a big life disruption in 2015, and then I got divorced. So I thought it was easier then to go back and take a full-time job, which I did for a few years to get myself grounded. And then laid off again and went, okay, it's time. And then started off on my own again.
Nice. And was that little spark inside of you that went, I can do this on my own? Or?
Yeah, it was really, I can do this. And I just, I had made a big move cross country. I really kind of was starting my life over. And when I first move cross country. I just didn't have it in me to do the business development, which is so important. You have to be, out there and hustling. So I thought, I'm just going to go. It's kind of funny. I'll go work for a corporation for a while because it'll be easier. And, the ease of it was, money appeared in my bank account automatically every 2 weeks mm-hmm. as I was trying to, find my way again. But I was not a very, probably not the best employee because I was so used to being on my own and being in charge. When I went back inside, it's like, what?
You want me to do what?
Oh, you mean I can't tell you what I think all the time? I get in trouble.
I forgot about that.
When I was a consultant, people paid me to tell them what I think. Oh, right. Now, okay, I'm supposed to say yes. I mean, I am exaggerating a bit, but it's just it's a totally different feeling when you can't, steer your own ship.
Right. Love that. It's awesome. You have been so much fun, and thank you so much for your time. I could pick your brain all day, but I know how valuable your time is. Any last words for our peeps?
When you're planning your course, be intentional every step of the way, and it'll make a huge difference.
Awesome. Thank you so much again.
Peeps, oh, you're welcome.
This is Michelle Nedelec. Thank you for being here with us today. Be sure to subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast app so that we can help you scale your business. We love having you here. Thank you for listening to our show. I'm all about being a resource center for entrepreneurs to give them the information and the support that they need to make it in business. As such, the notes for this show can be found at our website at awarenessstrategies.com/blog. Be sure to subscribe, give us a rating. I like 5 stars personally, and share with your friends.